Okay, guys, so welcome. This is section 14.2, the second part of the week. After we back, factoring trinomials of form x squared plus bx plus c. Let me just check if everything is recording. Yes. Okay. So, number one, let's start it. Factoring trinomials with a leading coefficient of 1. Okay. So I'm talking about this one because soon, technically, what we're dealing here, we're dealing with quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c. In section 14.2, a, we call it leading coefficient. Leading coefficient is a real number which is in front of x to a second power. So in section 14.2, a will be equal 1. That's why we're skipping that, and I'm talking about factoring x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, b is a coefficient. B is coefficient in front of x, and c is a real number. Of course, a, b, and c are real numbers, but c it's also coefficient, but again, it doesn't have a variable attached to it. Okay, so let's talk about the examples. Hold on. Not sure what's going on. Example. X squared plus 4x plus 7. So this is quadratic equation, okay? In this case, a is equal 1, b is equal 4, c is equal 7, and x is a variable. Okay? Or we have a trinomial which looks like this. X squared minus 2x plus 5. So like you guys see, a is equal 1 because technically you have a 1 in front of x squared. B, it's a coefficient which is in front of x. So in this case, it's negative 2. And c, it's 5, number which is by itself. Okay, so that's the examples of trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Example 1, factoring trinomial. Okay. And the first one, we have x squared plus 4x minus 45. So what we need to do, we need to rewrite this polynomial in factored form. So technically, if you will apply the distribution property, you should end up with x squared plus 4x minus 45. So a is equal to 1, b is equal to 4, c is equal to negative 45. So I'm going to write down all the steps, how I factor those trinomials. Step 1, step 1. Multiply hold on. Okay, let me pause the video and see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going back. Multiply a times c. So in our example, we having 1 times negative 45. And we getting negative 45. So let's save that. So this is a times c. Okay, step 2. It's going to be find two numbers. Which by multiplication is equal to a times c. In our case, in our example, okay, negative 45. And the same numbers in the sum of those two integers, because we only will be dealing with integers, must be equal to coefficient b. B. Okay, in our example, b, okay, let's go back, was equal 4. Okay, so let's talk about it. So what we need to do, we need to find two numbers which by multiplication it's equal AC, which is AC, which is negative 45. So I can find two numbers which by multiplication will give you negative 45. Okay, that's our A times C. And the same two integers, which by addition will give you B, which was equal 4. Okay, so that's B. So this is like playing a game a little bit. You have to check. So two numbers which by multiplication will give you negative 45. You're going to have 9 and negative 5. One has to be negative. And 9 plus negative 5, definitely it's equal 4. So those two conditions has to apply. Okay, we're talking about the same integers. Now when you find that, you can move on to step 3. Step 3. Create factors. Create factors. Okay, so how are you going to create those factors? The first parenthesis will have a x plus the first integer. Okay, so again, that's the first number right here, first integer, times x plus the second integer which we find. Okay, so negative 5 is the second integer. Okay, and when you have x in one parenthesis and x in the other parenthesis, because don't forget that when you will FOIL that, you should end up with your original, which is x squared. So we split that x squared, x times x in one parenthesis and x in the other parenthesis. So in our case, we have right here, we have x plus 9, because that was the first integer, times x plus negative 5. Okay, plus and negative, so let's just rewrite that as x plus 9 times x minus 5, because plus negative 5 means just subtract 5. Okay, and we have it. Okay, so that's the factors of x squared plus 4x minus 45. Okay, you can always check your work, and if you have time, I'm going to skip it, but step 4, check work if you're not sure, especially at the beginning. Multiply x plus 9 times x minus 5. What you will need to do, you will need to FOIL and check if that will give you original, which was x squared plus 4x minus 45. I'm going to leave that for you guys to check. There's many methods of factoring polynomials. I'm going to stay only with one method. Okay, I think I'll be honest with you. I know many methods, but this one works for me. I always factor in that way and works very well. So I'm only teaching one method. However, if you learn maybe in high school different methods, you're good with that, I have no issues if you factoring polynomials different way. That method, I just decide to just teach one method and stay with that method to the end of the semester. So let's do example 2. Factor each trinomial. So we're going to practice that. Factor each trinomial. Okay, so this method I'm calling AC method. Let's do example A. We have negative 5w plus w squared minus 6. Minus 6. Come on. Okay, B is 30 y to the third plus 2y4, 2y to the 4 power plus 112 y squared, and C will be negative x squared plus x plus 12, and D will be x squared minus 7x plus 28. So I will go over those first example. I'm going to start with D. So let's start with D. Let's start. Okay. Let's start with D. Okay. So we have x squared minus 7x plus 28. A is equal 1, B is equal negative 7, C is equal 28. So I'm going to follow all the steps. Step 1. Hold on. Step 1. Multiply A times C. So in our case, we have 1 times 28. We have 28. That's the step 1. Step 2. Find two integers. which by multiplication will give you that AC, which in our case it's 28, and the same to integer, which by addition has to give you B, which B in our case it's -7. Okay. Okay, so let's find them. Okay, let's see what's going to work. So here, 28, 7 times 4, 28. However, 7 plus 4 won't give you that -7. So it's not going to work. So I'm checking. Sometimes you just need to check what's going to work. Okay. So I'm just checking on SI, okay? 7 times 4, 28, but 7 plus 4, it's not equal to -7. Then 28, okay? 2 times 14, it's 28. However, 2 plus 14 is not equal -7. And what else? Technically, that's it, right? And of course, 1 times 28, it's equal to 28. However, 1 plus 28 not give you that -7. So in case like this, if you cannot find, since, let's just write this down, since we cannot find such the integers, which will satisfy that condition that the product of those integers equal 28, and they sum it's equal -7, we call this original, that x squared minus 7x plus 28, we call this trinomial prime. That means you cannot factor. Okay? Since no such integers exist, okay, so you may have something like that, okay? Not every polynomial can be factored. The trinomial stands because this is polynomial, okay? You have many expressions, but we call it trinomial because this polynomial, it's breakdown into 3 expressions. So trinomial, x squared minus 7x plus 28 is prime. Okay, like prime numbers. Okay, we cannot factor, can't be factor. Using AC method. Okay, because I'm actually teaching you method. We may be able to solve it later. What we're going to do with those trinomials, we're going to make it equal 0 and solve it, but at this moment it's prime. We cannot factor using the method which I just introduced to you. Okay. Okay, next what we're going to do, I'm going to solve example A, -5w plus w squared minus 6. And this is what you need to do first. First, you need to rewrite in form ax squared plus ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay. Plus c. Okay, so we need to rewrite it. So in our case, we need to rearrange that as w squared minus 5w minus 6. Okay, so now we know that a is equal 1, that's the coefficient in front of w squared, b is equal -5, c is equal -6. And I follow the same method, okay? So step 1 of factoring, so multiply a times c. So we have 1 times -6, you're getting -6. Okay. So step 2, find two integers. So find two numbers which by multiplication give you AC, which is -6 in our case, and the same to integers by addition gives you B, coefficient B. So coefficient B in our case it's equal -5. Okay. So again, this is playing and checking what's going to work. -6 and 1 will work. -6 times 1 is equal to -6. -6 plus 1 will give you -5. Okay, now when you have those integers, okay, so I will just put it first integer. This is second integer. So when you have them, you can move on to step 3. Create factors. Since originally we have w squared, so we're going to have w plus first integer, okay, times w plus the second integer. Okay. Okay, so in our case we have w plus -6 times w plus 1. And again, when you have plus and minus, just rewrite it as w minus 6 times w plus 1. And we have it. Okay, we have factors. Okay, that's our factors of w squared minus 5w minus 6. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I don't want to make the video way too long, and we'll continue in the second video. Stop recording.